trouble. Oh, I need to turn this round. We all know how that works. Oh my golly. Hello, Petal. Here he is in all his glory. Hey, mister. Hello, darling. Hello, sweet peeps. You are such a good boy. And you are the best puppy. I know. I know. So, good morning. It is very, very chilly this morning. Nothing wrong with that, because that's kind of like what we expect. Now, I'm trying to manage two phones with one hand. Never good. Miss Sissy's having a drink in the background. Our little friend here is in the queue. Right. We know what you do with that nose, young man. So, I've got Nick's phone here, because I'm trying to get... Oh, there it is. I'm trying to work out if we've got questions that come through about this Mr. Troublemaker himself. Who is back to normal, I might add. Yes. So, if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. Larky's just going to have a wee drink. I'll spin this round. I'm going to try and find somewhere to pop this because it's a bit tricky since we broke our tripod. Tripods are not us, and so you're going to have to just bear with me while I try and prop it up. It's amazing. There we go. That's enough. Right. Okay. So everybody's away outside for a bark, which is wonderful. Just making sure. Wanda, what is it? Is it Gwen back? Gwen back? No. What is it? Oh, it's Bao. It is Bao. He has arrived, and they're letting us all know that Bao is here. So that is good. And Bao has come to work on the cabin because we've put drywall up on the walls of the condo. I had to think about that there. And that's what he's here to do today. So that's lovely. Now, I've got a big skylight behind my head. Look, I just can't work out the lighting in this place at all. Oh my, now I've knocked it over. Oh, for goodness sake. Not good. Right, I'm going to try over here now so I can be in amongst the... Yeah, that's a great solution. I think I might just have to go over by the coffee machine. Right! Thank you, people! Sizzy! Sis! Welcoming committee. Okay, so I'm going to go over here in the kitchen. Now... So, Mr. Larky, let's just clear this up because, in all honesty, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are, as upfront as possible. And, we could have... Hey! Enough! Thank you. Including you, Wanda. Oh. Come on, Larky! Larky! I know, Susie. Larky! Good boy. Come on, honey bun. So, as you know, with our policy of being as transparent as possible, we are working with animals. We're working with other people. And the real back outside to bark again. Sizzle! Larky! Excuse me. Enough! Inside! Honestly, that's enough of that. Good grief. So, Mr. Larky, obviously he swallowed something. We weren't even 100% sure that he swallowed anything. And the reason being, Sizzle has had this toy for a very long period of time. And she has a habit of taking it away and hiding it purely because he knows it's hers and he likes to chase it down and take it from her, which causes great consternation. with Sizzle, and then it goes backwards and forwards between the pair of them. The toy was absolutely enormous. I personally don't remember ever seeing the toy, probably because it was either in hiding or laterally inside the dog, unfortunately. And it was the most difficult situation, because two people noticed that he was gulping, and he had been lying down, not causing any ruckus in any way, shape or form. It was very much done on the sly, shall we say. And he has clearly cut the toy in two and swallowed it. Now, this toy had been deemed to be, acceptable, because there was no way he could get it down. He's found a way, and he's done it, and that's a learning curve for everybody. No toy too large for Larky, and it's that's just something that we have to deal with and put our hands up and say, well, we didn't expect that to happen, and yes, it did. So we'll move on from that, and we'll take that knowledge with us. Unfortunately, it wasn't actually determined that he had definitely swallowed the toy, because of the nature of Sizzle taking it outside and hiding it. So people were searching for the toy. We were obviously monitoring his poo. We had followed Larky has swallowed an object protocol. We tried to make him sick, didn't work. So as a belts and braces approach, what we decided to do was we decided to actually do something we hadn't done before, and we deployed the Vaseline. And ta-da! It's even Market Basket's own brand, okay? So we deployed petroleum jelly. And the thinking behind it was that although we weren't sure whether or not he'd actually consumed this item, we felt that it would need slip to either come up the way, which is what we had hoped, or if it actually, was going down, there was still some form of lubrication with it. The vet said you can do that. It's not their first port of call, and the first port of call is always to attempt to get them to vomit, and that's something that we attempted. Doesn't always vomit. I will say that hydrogen peroxide down your throat does cause a roughness and a burning in the esophagus. It's not a pleasant process, and it didn't work this time. So in order to err on the side of caution, we gave him petroleum jelly, washed down with a liberal dose of mineral oil, I might add. So as you can imagine, he was explosive, not in the end that we wanted him to be explosive, but yeah, he was. So it didn't appear that there was any blockage, because he was eating no problem, he was pooping out the other end no problem, and things were passing through on an expected basis. He showed no signs of distress. He was not uncomfortable, either walking, lying, or eating. So while we were keeping our eye on him, and we were still maintaining the slippy slidey protocol, he managed to bring up, oh my gosh, I'm losing these questions. He managed to bring up what's obviously clearly been a partial part of the toy. And it was pulled apart, it was examined thoroughly, it was disgusting. And that's what came out of his stomach. So then you get to thinking, being very careful with the animals and just trying to consider what can possibly go wrong. You then begin to wonder just if there's anything else sitting in there. There was a partial part of a coffee cup that came up. Now, he could have picked that up while he was out on a job. He could have picked it up from the back of the car. He could have picked it up from when he's outside. Nobody saw him eat it. It could have also been there. And this is the thing that I was actually quite surprised about. In speaking with the vet, the stomach can hold on to contents for really quite a long period of time. And that came with its own set of worries, because nobody uses toothpicks here. these little flossers. They're just not used on the property. They're plastic. We tend to try and stay away from, you know, plastics that are unnecessary, and they're deemed unnecessary. So there, as far as we're aware, we couldn't work out or identify where he could possibly have found this tooth flosser, and yet there it was in the middle of the toy, and it's difficult. That didn't come out of the car. We have no idea where it came from. So from that point of view, it became quite apparent that there was a reasonably high chance that the stomach was holding on to items that were just obviously being rejected, as it looked as if it had been a case of he'd taken on the toy, which he obviously had, and the stomach had then said, right, this is a bit of a heavy load, time to expel it. So he'd expel it. He did. He was very efficient and very pleased with himself, and we managed to retrieve it before he ate it again, and it was a bit of a surprise. So obviously you then assess your situation and work out where you want to go moving on from there. And we decided that it would be best to take a little trip to the vet to have his stomach x-rayed to make sure that there wasn't anything else sitting there. On Thursday, I took him down to the vet. He is not a confident dog in the vet. He shakes, vibrates, and was making for the door any opportunity he got. Not really unsurprising, but you know, we're very protective of the animals, so we try and make sure that they obviously go with somebody that they know, and somebody that we hope gives them confidence. So he spent a good portion of Thursday. His appointment was at 12:30, and by the time I got back, it was straight onto mail chat from the barn. It was, you know, it had taken that length of time. The x-ray came back very clouded, because it showed that there was obstruction there. And then we got worried that he'd been out to do a job that morning, and we got worried that he had inadvertently got into treats. So we were sitting thinking, God, could this have been treats? Could this have been that? Because, you know, when you're in these nursing home situations, it's you know, it's a tricky one. So we're trying to cover every eventuality, but our policy is always to err on the side of caution and make sure that we're guarding against any potential issues and pitfalls. So they asked us what we wanted to do. Did we want to come back the next day for another x-ray? And in discussion with Janine and with Carlene, we decided that the most important part was to make sure that the stomach didn't have any residual foreign items. And to do that, we would prefer to have a scan. And the vet hospital in Danvers does not provide scanning, so we were given a referral to go to Woburn. And Woburn, it's run in a very specific way because it is an emergency hospital. I don't think he was actually considered a tremendous emergency. It would be better to get it done sooner rather than later. But from our point of view, we were dealing with Larky, who is previous. And you know, once you know that there's potentially a problem, you just want it sorted, and you don't want anything to go wrong. And at the back of our mind, we knew that we'd been giving him a lubricant, and I think that in him bringing up this what now turns out to be a partial part of the toy, we were worried that there was something else there, and that the lubricant had allowed it to be part of it to be expelled up the way. But we were also really worried that it also would start something else, a lesser piece, travelling down the way. Now, his problem actually isn't with his stomach. His problem is the fact that he has had abdominal surgery on 2 occasions. It's like, I suppose you can suggest it's along the same lines as people having C-sections. You know, there's a certain number of C-sections, and then there's no more space you know, for good adherence of the tissue back together. So from that point of view, he is not a tremendous candidate for a third abdominal surgery. So that was, you know, playing very heavily on our mind. Woburn was absolutely backed up. They have, this isn't a case of being seen by a vet. We knew what we wanted to do. We had a course of action, but the facility was not there to have him scanned. The offer was to leave him overnight, and given his reaction to being in a vet, it actually would not have suited his personality in any way, shape or form. So we brought him back home. He came with me to the barn, and he was fully supervised on the barn, as he actually is when he goes out with anybody, supervised until he's not supervised, and he's tricky. So he, as you'll have noticed, he was quite dopey because they had to anaesthetise him to give him his x-ray because he was flopping around all over the place. So he was still a little bit dopey, and we did our mail chat. Kate finished off the evening chores for me, and I brought him home, and all he wanted to do was sleep. So he was on nil by mouth, obviously, because he was going for his scan first thing the next morning. Woburn did say that if we could get there by 9 o'clock, we would be very high up on the list. He said that's when the referrals were going to be seen. So they deal with the animals that they have in their care that are brought in on an emergency basis, and then they open it up to the referrals that come in, and Larky obviously was a referral. So we got there, we were like, let's get there as early as possible, because you don't want him sitting in a queue, and you don't want him having to hang around the vet with, you know, there's a lot of very distressed animals and distressed people there. There's nothing worse than watching a couple go in with their cat in a cat carrier and coming back out in tears and the cat carrier is empty. It's miserable, you know, and you really feel for people in those circumstances. So we brought him down. Nick drove down because he's far faster at driving the interstate. I'd had a traumatic experience driving it the previous day and wasn't looking forward to it in rush hour traffic. So Nick drove down, and we got there, and we were really bright and early. We were there well before 9 o'clock, and I went in and I said, "Oh look, boom, boom, boom," and they were like, "Excellent, yes, you're really here. You're actually the first." I went, "Superb." But that didn't take into account all the other animals that were actually already in as emergency cases. So we might have been first, but we weren't first in the queue, which is fine because, you know, they obviously didn't deem him an emergency in the same way that we did. So we opted to triage him, and then I took him back out. Nick walked him around, and we put him in the car. We went to Panera. We got the phone call to go back. We went back in when we saw the vet, and the vet was, you know, she was, you know, keen to see exactly what was going on, and they offered us only to look at the abdomen because the abdomen was the part that we were worried about, but we opted to make sure that everything was a-okay with the stomach as well, because whatever's in that stomach either comes up or goes down the way, and up's one thing, down's not what we want. So she took him away, and she was back within about 10 minutes, and she showed me her phone with a picture of the scan, and she was like, the stomach, she said, forget the abdomen looks for all intents and purposes to be in great condition. There's nothing hanging around there, and he's clear. She said, your stomach's a different matter, she said, and there's stuff in there that obviously shouldn't be there. And this was the interesting part, it hadn't emptied because he hadn't had anything to eat in 24 hours. And it should have, by all intents and purposes, not be there. And in further discussion with the vet, obstacles can actually sit in there. The stomach doesn't naturally clear. And that I was actually quite surprised about, because I think I'd always assumed that, you know, your stomach empties and then it fills back up, and empties and fills back up. But not in this, not when you've got enormous blockages it sits there, and it was, you know, hanging around like a bad smell, and yes, it did smell like a bad smell, because it was. So it had been there, and it was clear that we were going to need to do something about it. So we had to wait for another 3 hours, and so he went back out. We went to Shake Shack this time. We went for a walk, we took him for a walk, we went to Shake Shack. That was quite interesting. I'd never been to a Shake Shack before. And we were apologetic at having to eat in front of him. Well, he hadn't had anything to eat, but needs must. We took him back, and I waited in the waiting room, and the vet came out with a picture this time, and she went, do you know what this is? And I looked at it and I said, ooh. I said, it's a really disgusting looking mess. She said, that is the biggest obstruction I have ever seen. She had given him medication to make him sick. And she said, oh my goodness. She said, he is so good at being sick. She said, it's like a projectile. We had to catch it. He said, how efficient. She said, puked it up. And she was going to go back in and do an x-ray of the stomach to make sure that we had absolutely everything, which we did. It saved him having to be scoped to have any remnants pulled out. It obviously gave us peace of mind that he is completely and utterly empty, both in his abdomen, in his intestines, and that his stomach we're starting afresh. So that was very fortunate. By the time we got signed out, it was really quite late. So he'd done very well, and I think probably the best case scenario worked out for us. So that was extremely fortunate. There are obviously a lot of lessons to be learned from this. There's no way that dog will be having cardboard boxes. So mail chat, no cardboard boxes. The vet obviously suggests crating him and using a muzzle when he's not under supervision. That's something that we're in discussion with Carlene about, and that's important. He is essentially her dog. There are lots of changes, and the changes we've started to put into play for a number of weeks now. The car has been stripped out, things taken out of the back of the car, and that's just the way that we've been moving forward. The cabin has been, it's in the process of being dog proofed. We've been working towards this. We're trying to make sure that the area that they have when they're down in the laundry building is easy in, easy out, and very limited on surfaces. So that's our plans going forward. Best laid plans don't always work, but we're doing everything we can to make sure that he is safe and healthy. Now I'm going to have a wee quick look at the questions, and he is in super spirits today. He's back to his usual nonsense, without the eating of toys. He's alert. He's obviously tolerated food in his stomach. He has, and this is important to know, he has at no point refused food or passed stools from the other end. There was no indication that there was a blockage. He didn't have diarrhea. It was just the usual production line, in one end, out the other end, and it gets picked up. So there was no indication that there was anything really that untoward with his internals, but evidently there was. So let me have a wee look at the questions. And of course I didn't bring glasses, did I? And I'm on Nick's phone, and he doesn't use the great big enormous text that I do. Yeah. It's really difficult because pica is a condition that there's no cure for it. That's the bottom line. Yeah, and he cannot resist chewing and swallowing everything, and that's why we've had and unfortunately, and I'll put my hand up. We've a black Great Dane called Arlo, and Arlo eats the most inappropriate nonsense, but he either pukes it up in a great big slimy mess, or it comes out the other end in a great big slimy mess. He just seems to cope with it no problem at all. It's bizarre. And we try very hard not to let him eat things, but that dog has some reach. Yes, he could have picked anything up from anywhere, and that's, you know, that's another learning process for everyone. You know, I think the assumption was that he'd kind of grown out of this and that he was fine, and we weren't going to have. I'm hoping that's going back, and we weren't going to have similar issues. Hello, Gwen. I'm doing a Facebook Live about our buddy. So I think from that point of view, you know, we realise that we just can't be lax about what's lying around within his searching capacities. You know, he's a very capable dog at finding things that he's not supposed to have, and that's it. Yes, he doesn't like the vet. Very few animals actually do like the vet, to be honest. I wouldn't like to be a vet. Yeah, and he's able to poop just fine, thank you very much. I'm not sure what the vet gave him to vomit, but apparently it was exceptionally strong and effective. It certainly did the job. The vet's suggestion to stop him doing it again was that there's nothing that we can actually give him that will stop it, and they're all physical barriers. So the physical barrier would be he would need to be muzzled, he needs to be in a crate. And those are things that we need to discuss with Carlene to make sure that they are feasible, and that and you know, and how we progress with that. At the moment, he is, you know, he's supervised, he's been in the crate, he's, you know, Gwen is very fortunately here for the weekend, and that's what we'll go with. Now, yes, we all love pica is an issue where it's very often found in humans, and it's the eating of inappropriate items. Sometimes it can come on during pregnancy, and pregnant women, coal is something I remember being told somebody ate. I do know of a medical case within our vicinity where somebody ate, their pica was razor blades. And you can imagine the damage that does. It's a very difficult thing, and it's just the eating of inappropriate items. Yeah, and there's also when he goes round the pond, you know, it's incredible. But one of the things I think that we have to be very upfront about is I think that there's a lot of confusion in communication. And one of the problems we have is that although Janine, myself and Carlene were all in communication yesterday, I think you'll probably notice that during mail chat yesterday, the television from next door was exceptionally loud. So while we think we're having one conversation, I'm not sure that it's very easy for Carlene to hear. So we pick up the wrong end of the stick, comments are made and they're not quite accurate. So one of the things that from the outset of Goldy's that we have really tried to embrace is, you know, being as transparent as possible, being upfront about successes, failures, weaknesses, strengths, etc. You know, we're all human, we're all dealing with animals, and that's it. And sometimes I do know Carlene does not like to admit the fact that she has not heard something. So it gets lost a little bit in interpretation. So we're going to work on that too. So it's just to make sure that we're all on the same page, and you know, it's not to cause people upset, it's not to set people off on, you know, you didn't do this. There's so many people who volunteer their time here, and there's so many people who volunteer their time watching online to make sure that the animals are behaving and that things are going in the right direction, and that is so greatly appreciated. So there's no finger pointing, there's no you should have done that better. You know, sometimes there's that must try harder, and that we're fully comfortable admitting. So that's how we're placed at the moment, and he's been doing fantastically. Now, I am sure Gwen is going to have an update from Carlene or instructions. Oh, you've got a visitor's badge.
Yes, I just came from there.
I have never been given a visitor's badge.
It spits out of the machine when you check in.
Yeah, but I don't check in, you see.
Well, I don't know. I tend to follow the rules, and I don't know. They said stop there and check in.
You see, well, the only time I have been, I followed Janine, you see.
Oh, she doesn't stop.
No, she doesn't stop at anything. She just goes, morning! And I'm like, I'm following.
Well, Mom is upset I didn't bring Larky. I said I just couldn't attempt it. It was dark. I was the only one here. I don't know what state he's in. He looked fine. He looked comfortable. He didn't want to get up, so I said, I don't know. I couldn't get him in the car.
No, and you know what? I wouldn't have taken him because had you seen what was coming out of his rear end yesterday?
That frightened me also.
Well, exactly.
I said I'll go down and assess the situation, and if there's a lot of pressure, I'll maybe try again later today.
No.
Maybe Wanda, but Wanda doesn't do well with other dogs.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Take Sizzle. Sizzle loves
maybe I
going
could
down.
do that, but when I got there, she was sitting at a table with a bunch of people talking, and they were having breakfast and whatnot, and someone came in with a golden retriever. And that's why I said, I would love to have a little dog to bring that, maybe Wanda.
There we have it.
I remember how she is around the so I would hate to have an incident.
Aye. Thank you.
What's happening?
The bow is working on the house, so you'll probably find they're all like, oh my god, stranger danger.
What's working at the house?
Bow, he's working at the house.
Oh, I wondered who that was.
Yeah. So they'll be like, oh my god, we're being invaded by people.
Okay.
You know what they're like.
Okay. I didn't recognize him, but
The early alert system.
yeah. Did someone come into your house last night around 11? I thought they all barked for quite a while at about 11.
Oh. I don't know, I was sleeping.
Oh, well, I woke up, I looked at the clock, I said, I don't know, okay, maybe it's a
It's probably a child.
child of yours
Well, I
that's
certainly
coming
hope
back.
it was a child. Now I'm trying to think.
It only lasted a few minutes, but
Yeah, now I'm trying to think, were there any children out? So obviously I go to bed and I'm oblivious to what child's in or out. But you know what? I can't go up and down the spiral staircase because I get vertigo coming back down it.
You do?
So I have no idea what goes in.
Oh,
what goes
word.
on up the top.
I could trot up and down that thing with a basket of laundry on my head.
My head goes like this. Whoa! And I'm like, yeah, not enough. There's not enough. No, it's just not a good situation. So I said to Nick, I said, this is problematic. I said, because they all wear headphones.
Right.
So I shout up and say, are you in, Ava? And I don't get an answer. And then I go, well, she's probably got her headphones in. And then I trot
And then you
off
actually
quite
have
happy.
no idea.
I've got no idea, yeah. So I'm no further forward with the search to how many people are in or out of the house. And I'm obviously very careful to make sure that I do have the complete number of children before I go to sleep at night.
And how many is that?
There's only 2 there.
Okay. For some reason I had 5 in my head.
No. And you would like to think that you could actually sort of like count to 2, but obviously that's passing you by. And I like to go to bed far earlier than the children do.
That's a given.
Yeah. That's a total given. So it's probably Ava coming home. Oh, although you know what, I did actually think. No, I did have a conversation with Ava, and I went to bed about 9. So it can't have been Ava. It's maybe Carly and Mike. Because Mike does DoorDash.
Oh, he does?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Good to know.
So actually, for once, I maybe had the full quota of children.
Okay.
So there. So was she disappointed that you didn't have Larky?
Yes, she wanted me to bring Larky. Yeah, so I don't know what to do about that. I'll have to see what happens later.
I think that would be a tomorrow job.
That's tomorrow, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
I was not prepared this morning because when I got here last night, it was dark. I was up dealing with everything here and it was dark. I didn't want to let them out to run in the pen, like you said, and be back before 7 because it was dark. And I said, I didn't see last night. Is the pen around the pond? Is the pond frozen? Is the ice?
The pond's frozen and you don't want them out there.
Well, that's why I said I can't see. I don't know exactly where the fence goes, so I don't want to let them out if it's in the area, if the pond is in that area.
I can tell you the external fence is fantastic and would holds the goats on one side and the dogs on the other. The fence around the pond is useless.
But if I put the dogs out in that pen out there, They'll go skating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I can't just
Yeah.
let them out there in the dark.
No, and my take on it is, as we discussed last night, err on the side of caution, and they can go out the back.
Oh yes, we did that.
Yeah,
We did that.
we
yes.
like that. We like safe.
Yeah.
So
We
that's
like
what we
safe.
did.
And I let them all out this morning. They all wanted to go out, and only 2 came back, and that got me concerned because you said it was secure out there.
It
so that
is.
only 2 of them came back,
It
and
is.
I got
It is.
worried. I put on muck boots, and I went outside, and I crawled through the little thing, and they were out there, and it wouldn't
Yeah,
come.
No, that's about right.
Yeah, so I came. Okay, they're right out there.
I hope you used your positive words.
I did. I didn't yell the mad words.
I would have been out there going, right, that's enough, get in.
Well, I came back in and I didn't push the door shut all the way, and I went back to doing what I was doing. And the next thing you know, the door's wide open and they're back in here.
They're
And
like-
a big rush of cold air came
Yeah,
in.
they're like, it's really cold out there,
Yeah,
you know,
really.
and you left us out.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I tell you, they are so tricky. So tricky. Right, so let's check this out. Yeah, so I think, so the interesting thing about Carlene's room is that she doesn't have a door, she has a curtain. And it may have 3 walls. In fact, it's got 4 walls, but an enormous gap. And it doesn't have a physical door, it's a curtain. So you can hear everything.
Yes.
There's just no...
Well, when I was down there, she was out sitting in the breakfast area with some other people, but she was annoyed that the TV was off in her room and she couldn't find the remote. So I said, maybe I could find it. So I went down and found it. The remote was on the table right next to the bed, was under a banana. So
Oh, tricky bananas.
yeah, exactly. I got the TV back on, so she's back watching the cameras. Yeah.
Right. So that's her. We'll get our usual texts of, what are you doing? Why are you talking to that person?
Yeah, she's very concerned that I keep in touch with things that are going on this afternoon.
What's happening this afternoon?
The Betsy Frost thing?
Oh, that's dead easy. We're just going to go down with Elvis.
Well, she wanted to tell everyone that we were bringing in, what is he?
Zebu.
Zebu. She
Yes.
wanted to tell everyone that Zebu and watch out for the horns and send pictures. And
Yes. And we'll do all of that. But we do first of all have to go and find the trailer. Just a small sort of like issue. But hey, either that, we better start walking now. And he's not a fast walker, I can tell you.
oh boy, okay.
Delight would probably be better. Maybe we could sort of like sit on Delight and pull him. Go, come on, Delight. She'd be like, oh my god, yeah. But I think Marty's going to come down and make sure that she's actually on some sort of scale of white, because she's out there and it's been muddy. That means, and she likes to roll.
I saw her on camera last night, but is there another small white one with
Yes,
brown
that's
dots?
Wilbur.
Oh, that's a new one.
So Wilbur's lovely. He is also 19, but he has Cushing's.
Ew.
So, and his feet, I'm waiting for the trimmer to get back to me. His feet, when he came in, we actually bought him at auction to euthanize, as one does, because he dropped tendon. Oh gosh.
Oh, yes, that was the one.
absolute
Okay.
mess. But he's having an absolutely great time down there and can get up to some speed when you're trying to get back in.
And he's got his hooks trimmed back
And
to
they've been trimmed 3 times now. They're still in a bit of a mess, but we're getting a semblance of shape into them.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, so he's kind of super speedy and very happy with life. So that's lovely. I'm very, very fond of him. Now, good morning, Gwen.
Good morning. I've been up for hours.
I know, exactly. It's kind of like, is it lunchtime yet?
I know. I've literally been up since 4.
You know, we're actually not too far from Carlene, unless it's me driving, at which point I can take a good half hour. How long does it take you?
Oh, it takes me 10 minutes.
Yeah,
When I
it
came back,
takes
took the
Gwen 10 minutes, takes me half an hour.
I took the long way back,
Yeah.
which maybe you've taken Howe Street.
Past, is that the one that goes past Essex Tech?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it also, that road takes you past Janine's old house.
Yes. Oh, I do that one.
They're adding on a mansion.
It's kind of like they've taken the house and then they've gone, supersize me.
Yes, they've taken the house and made like a shed out of it. And the house being attached to it, I said, that must not be the right place. But as I went
that's
further, I
it.
said, that's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they took down all the horse fencing. I don't think they're going to have horses. What waste.
Terrible.
What a waste.
But no, the rehab place is also right near someplace that we used to ride our horses to when we lived in Linfield. One of the things we did when we were kids, Janine and I and our horsey friends. We would take off from our house in Linfield, and we would ride horseback all day long through the trails and come out in Danvers, right near the rehab place. So I went to and drove around that area and saw the farm that we used to end at. We would ride to this farm, people that were friends of ours, horse people, and we would call my mom, and she would come pick us up with the horse trailer. So I went and took a look at that place. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, it's quite nice, isn't it? And it's a bright sunny day.
Yeah.
Blinking freezing.
It's freezing.
Yeah.
Notice I haven't taken my coat off from here.
No. And
Chilly.
And I think today this is just from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So it's just quick, done, and then back home, and it will be just fine. And we'll be so efficient.
Okay.
I'm ever hopeful.
Ever
You're gonna be positive about these things. And I tell you, I can't find a pair of gloves anywhere.
Ooh, I'm glad I brought some.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. And you know what I think that is? My husband keeps stealing my gloves.
That's not good. You need to put them on a string
I
inside your jacket.
I know. Do you remember those? You used to swing your arms and your yeah. No, I think he takes them. I steal them back, and then I hide them in a really good place, and then I forget where I've hidden them. I'm like a squirrel. I'm like, yeah, I put them there, and I'm like, oh, maybe not. Yeah. Anyway, we'll all get there, and it's very cold. Is it up above freezing yet?
It's 27. The car just now said 27,
Yes.
and when I left here earlier, it was 21. So
Yeah. What do you mean there's going to be horses, goats and donkeys and ponies roaming the streets? No. The most we've got going at the moment is, breakdowns in communication, us. The most we've got going at the moment, I think, are Elvis is going to go and Delight's going to go. And because everybody else, all of our volunteers are very, very much engaged in other Christmas things that they have to do with their own families. So it's us odds and sods. That's us. We're the backup to the backup team.
the B team,
C team.
C team.
I wouldn't even go for B. But it's in our So maybe take Penny down with me as well.
Who's Penny?
That dog there.
Oh. I'm on things in the barn, not things in the barn.
Yeah. In fact, or maybe I won't. I'm not sure which one. We'll sort something out. We'll get ourselves all organised in a loose use of the word organised.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just have to go with the flow. Go with the flow. Oh my gosh. Yes. Might take Angus, but the problem with taking Angus at the moment is Angus is going through a bit of a nibbly toddler stage. And quite frankly, children, if they've been going round and they've been sampling food, for all you can, and we ask people, particularly when we're walking around, we ask people not to touch their noses, etc. It's the children, it's a stealth attack. They come up from underneath. You're like, listen, seriously.
Hello.
So I think hello, my darling. Look, he's here. See, all good. Are we friends again? He wasn't real. Every time I came into the cabin yesterday, he's like, oh God, her again.
Her again. No.
Every time I go, I'm with her. Mwah. She takes me somewhere I don't want to go. But you're okay now. You are. You're such a good boy. Such a good boy. Yeah. And the really funny thing is, see when he was in the vet, he just drooled. He's not very drooly.
Regularly he's not.
No.
But he got drooly in the vet.
Oh! It was everywhere.
Oh.
It was like I was constantly trying to find paper towels to sort of like. So you'd walk past people and it's swinging, and you're like, oh God, do I rub their leg and go, I'm so sorry, let me get
Rub
that
it in
off
a
you?
little.
I was just ignoring it. I was like, moving on. So yeah, I think that's part of his panic response is to drool bigly.
I know it's my panic response.
Oh yeah, I drool. Yeah. So we're going to go because we are going to go and do things.
Yes, I have some things that we need to do.
Yes, okay, that's absolutely super. That sounds ominous. And I've got to get to Meredith.
Oh, you haven't been yet?
No, I have not. I wrote the Daily Doggy. I told you.
I saw that.
Do you know what?
Alice.
What? I have no typing
You
ability.
can't type?
No, I can't
Maybe
type.
tomorrow you can dictate and I'll type.
I've
'Cause
never,
I can type.
I've never learnt to type.
Because
I've never-
let's do it together. I'll type, you dictate.
Never had any need.
I can type.
I can't. I thought you were going to teach me there, and I thought,
Oh no,
oh,
no,
I think I
no.
might be
I
beyond
can't
that.
type without looking at the keys. I can type fast, but I have to look.
Oh, right, okay.
Anyway,
I tell you what, we limp on. So we will speak to you at some point, and we'll post pictures, etc. If we've got hand free, that is.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, have a lovely Saturday. Bye bye.